1995, Madison, Wisconsin. Men's Anger List from the Vote Mail series at Backlash.com by James Novak, co-founder of Wisconsin Fathers for Children and Families, linked in the low bar. This list is also linked in the low bar, and while this video is long, the list is longer. White men passed all the civil rights laws in this country. White men passed all the laws prohibiting discrimination in employment. White men passed all the public accommodation laws and all the affirmative action laws. White male-dominated Supreme Courts have upheld these laws and often expanded them. It has been white men who have made most of the world's greatest inventions and products that have liberated all people from merely survival from one generation to another to having high levels of leisure for the development of culture and spirituality. White men have every reason to be proud of their accomplishments in the uplifting of the human race. But they also have reason to be angry, nor are they alone. They will be joined by many minority men because the issues that have made white men angry are the same issues that affect minority men in a similar, if not the same way. The Men's Anger List, or Why Men Are Voting Republican in Growing Numbers. Feminist women want equality in the military, but will not lobby for women as a matter of civic duty to be obligated to sign up for the draft or be required to fulfill their obligation of combat duty. Incidentally, I read just today, today being May 17, 2016, that Congress decided not to consider imposing the requirement to register for the draft onto women in America. Hallmark has a series of greeting cards that say, "Men are scum." Women would be outraged by "Women are bitches" cards. Capital punishment is a punishment for men. Only one woman has been executed in the past 25 years, even though women are convicted for 14% of the murders in America, but are 1/50th less likely to be executed. Men are 50% of parents, but do about 40% of domestic work, but upon divorce receive physical placement only about 10% of the time. The United States has set up a huge bureaucratic apparatus to collect child support for custodial parents. Nothing is spent to enforce fathers' rights to parent their children. Judges do not even enforce their own court orders regarding fathers' parenting time with their children. Fathers despise being considered an outsider or visitor to their children by the courts. Fathers recognize the term deadbeat dads as bigotry. The percentage of men who pay child support is 6 times higher than the percentage of women who are ordered to pay child support. Moreover, most men pay child support, and those who do not are mostly unemployed, poor, or denied access to their children. Women vigorously claim that there is little attention paid to their health care, yet cancer of the breast research receives 6 times more dollar subsidy than cancer of the prostate, even though the rates of cancer are similar. A man accused of sexual harassment or assault is guilty until he proves he is innocent, instead of innocent until proven guilty. About 3/4 of all charges of sexual abuse to children in divorce cases are known to be and are found to be false. Judges follow a safe path in all accusations by denying a father access to his children. After innocence has been established, those same judges use the father's absence and the children's accommodation to a life without a father as reason for awarding a mother primary physical placement. All you young millennials who are angry at your fathers for being absent, this is part of the reason. Even though statistics and studies show that more than 50% of accusations of sexual assault are false, district attorneys will not bring charges against the lying party, even though it's a felony. By the way, on the subject of fathers being absent, back in the day when I was publishing the Backlash as a little magazine, and then during the first few years I was publishing it online, I talked with dozens and dozens and dozens of fathers who were screwed by the court system and who were prevented from being in the lives of their children. So, you want to blame somebody for your father being absent after divorce, You might want to look at your mom. Maybe not, but that would be the first place I would look. And then definitely look at the courts. Your dad probably wasn't to blame. Matter of fact, I know at least two. One in America, one right here in Washington State, another one in England. Let's see, here in Washington State, what was his name? Lambert. I'm forgetting it. Roy Lambert. And he went on a starvation strike. And then in England, Lamb or Lan, I think it was Lamb, and I don't remember his last name, but he went on a hunger strike too. Men receive 58% longer prison sentences for conviction of the same crime. Women and children first. Do men's lives not have the same intrinsic value? Men are first and normally only when it comes to being killed by terrorists or beaten by police. If women make only 75 cents on the male dollar, which is debatable, then men pay 125% of the funding of Social Security. How is it justice in taxation that men only receive 33% of Social Security benefits? How can it be said that women's health care is neglected when they are the primary users of the health care system and men live on average 7.5 years less than women? Why is it that even though the city of Madison in Wisconsin has one of the strongest affirmative action programs in America, women will not take good-paying jobs with a huge benefit package as garbage collectors? Why is it that only about 14% of grade school teachers are men, and yet this is not an affirmative action issue, even though young people are desperately in need for male role models? Why is it when 10 men die and 1 woman is injured at a construction site, the newspaper headline will likely read, 10 workers die, woman injured? Men are disgusted when presented as buffoons on almost every television advertisement related to the home or children. 21 years ago, people. 21 years ago. Men are even more disgusted with all the television comedies in which the audience laughs when men are hit in the balls deliberately by women or other men. What reaction would take place if the same programmed laughing were associated with women being slapped in the breasts? Much is made of the Korean comfort women during the Japanese occupation. What about the hundreds of thousands of men who survived or died in labor camps or who were simply executed? If Rodney King had been Roberta King and beaten as he was, the police officers would have received life in prison. Men are the routine targets of police violence. Why is rape known about, acceptable, and used as a means of prison control in male prisons, but toleration of it would be abhorrent in female prisons? Why is it that it is discrimination to charge men lower rates for health insurance and HMOs, but acceptable to charge men higher rates for car and life insurance? Using a victim defense for premeditated murder outrages any person with a sense of fairness or civility. Excusing a woman from crime on the basis of a postpartum or PMS defense is defended by feminists. Men are told by these same feminists that women are just as solid in their judgments to hold high office of a sensitive nature. Men get tired of listening to feminists rant and rave about how few women are in political office when so few take the initiative to run for office, and of those who run for office, they have little agenda to offer demonstrating that they care to represent all the people of their district, including men and women. Women to men, your income is family income. My income is mine. Most men are enraged at being called oppressors and patriarchs. In a society with economic classes where 5% of men and women have 50% of the wealth, 95% of men struggle every day to make a living and are hardly powerful, rich, or patriarchs. In fact, the vast majority of white men are not empowered. Men do not have procreative rights in the United States. They have no choice. If a man wants a woman to have an abortion and she chooses to have a child, he is enslaved to pay child support for 18 years. insurance now for 26 and also cover college tuition through age 26. If a man wants a child and the woman aborts the child, he grieves and no one even recognizes his grief as legitimate. If two young people, both of whom are unskilled and unprepared to be a parent, have a child and the mother applies to welfare, she will be given a welfare check, health care, child care, a free education, and food stamps. The young man will be declared a deadbeat and imprisoned. Young men's suicide rate is astronomical, and society doesn't care. Men at retirement are 7 times more likely to commit suicide than women, and nobody cares. 75% of the homeless are men. Well, it ranges. That's been as high as 80%. 99% of the press coverage reads, homeless women and children. Representative Patricia Schroeder speaks about the brave men and women who fought America's wars. Yet the number of women killed in all of America's wars, from an accounting point of view, is statistically insignificant. Every blue-collar, most dangerous job ranks as a category numerically dominated by men. All but one of the white-collar, most dangerous jobs are also numerically dominated by men. Why are dangerous jobs men's jobs, and why are men denied extra compensation for doing America's dangerous work where they are disabled and killed at a 19-to-1 ratio to women? How can marriage be an economic contract when divorce is no fault? Who created the nonsense that a woman can own a man's career in a marriage of moderate duration? Judges routinely deny parenting time to fathers and then want to increase child support so that a mother can afford more child care. The Violence Against Women Act was written and passed with full knowledge that men are the victims of 80% of all violence in America. White men often pay for 3 families of children. First, child support for their first marriage. Second, AFDC, or aid for families with dependent children, for all children via taxation. And third, children from their current family if they get remarried and have more children. No baby-changing support apparatuses in public men's washrooms. Well, that's changing. Men resent being told that the Christian religion is patriarchal when women represent 2/3 of its customers. Men recognize the inconsistency in being told that God is patriarchal when women are 2/3 of its customers. Men recognize the inconsistency in being told that God is a she, but with no mention that the devil is also a she. In Wisconsin, a woman who is drunk cannot give sexual consent, even if she's not passed out. The next morning, she can charge her lover with rape. However, the same consideration is not given to her lover, who was also intoxicated. Women want to be equal. Still, they expect men to continue to take the sexual initiative. If they are pleased by the overtures of a man, they are delighted. If they are not pleased because he may be the wrong man or because of his style of responding to general flirtation, they can accuse him of sexual harassment. Men resent that women and minorities are affirmative actioned into jobs, promotions, and graduate and professional school openings, even when they're less competent than white men who are applying for the same positions. Men resent that those same classes are often excused for their failure to perform adequately in their new affirmative action positions. Men further resent the same classes above calling white men racists, sexists, or some other kind of ists for pointing out that white men are smart enough to recognize that a person without adequate skills or experience has failed. Men know that every man is not a rapist. Even women, know that only a very few men are rapists. Yet only a few decent women are standing up to the absurd anti-male generalizations of feminists. Remember, people, this was written 25 years ago. Men are angry when women continue to deny that women are sexually powerful and that they have power through the control of men's access to sex. American feminists are reprehensible for their outrage at the use of clitorectomies in Africa while circumcising their sons. Only America is near universal in the sexual mutilation of male infants. Conclusion. White males learn sports at a young age. Sports have highly defined, specific rules. From this experience, males learn at a young age to be just and fair. It's not unusual to listen to young boys quoting the rules to one another when there's a dispute and invoking a concept of fairness flowing from those rules. Sports have prepared males for the responsibility of power decisions in politics and business. When men come into the double standard world of those women who are not just and fair in their positions of power, they react. Their reactions are not anxiety, but anger with those who do not play by fair and just rules. White males are angry by indiscriminate and subjective judgments not based on identifiable rules, but the whim of the female players. White males are expressing their anger and expressing it in a socially acceptable way at the ballot box. That was the Men's Anger List, written in 1995 by James Novak, co-founder of Wisconsin Fathers for Children and Families. 2016, Olympia, Washington. As I was editing this for the video script, I was again struck by how almost all the issues we face today are the same issues we were facing 2 decades ago. Will we still be facing these issues 20 years from now? I think that's unlikely. What seems likely to me is that either things will get catastrophically worse or tremendously better. But one way or another, the status quo will change in a very big way. And by the way, for you feminist bigots out there, and you other social justice warriors, I want to remind you both of my grandmothers were American Indians, and I'm a member of the Cowlitz Indian tribe. For the Backlash at backlash.com, my name is Rod Van Mecklin.